Hello everyone, welcome to EduTutor. Dear friends, I'll be assisting you in MEG 10 program. As you know, there are 8 blocks, and the first block is Institutionalization of English Studies in India. Dear friends, before we begin the chapter, let me ask you something. Why? Why did you choose English as your mastery or your PG in English? Why did you not choose your regional language or some other languages? Do you know the history behind this English language in India? You might know something like you might learn in your smaller classes a small brief history regarding the English language which existed in India. You might even know the pioneers who were like under struggles and suffering they went through because of these Britishers. And yet, we speak English, we learn English, and we are proud to learn English, right? It's a prestige issue. If someone do not know English, there is some like prestige issue even still existing. So, why I am talking all these things is because this is related to our chapter. It's really interesting to learn this chapter, like why we learn English, how did it come, or how did it exist in India, and what is the importance of this language, all these things in detail. So, kindly don't skip the video, watch continuously, and don't take a break within it. Okay, so let's move on. Introduction. India is a land with various cultures and languages. It was difficult for the foreigners to establish their kingdom in India. So, the European language in the midst of an alien culture like India is a mystery. It needs a close investigation and study its phenomena. When the Europeans they wanted to have a trade in India, what they did was that first they learned India. First they learned about India, and they concluded that India is a land with rich cultures and languages. So it was difficult for them, for the Europeans, to come directly to India and to have a trade in India, because they wanted to take a mastery over us. They wanted to establish their kingdom in India. But it was a difficult task for them, since because of this various cultures and languages of India. So what they did was that they started teaching us English. They started teaching their cultures, or they wanted us to adapt their cultures and languages. And they did it. And that's how India was existed. That's how English originated in India. A language is a whole system of knowledge constructing activity. Whatever the language may be, it is an open door for the people to get connected with their natives. In case, if someone who is not a Keralite studies Malayalam, he or she becomes part of Kerala by adapting that language, culture, custom, food, dress code, etc. So likewise, Indians who took effort in learning English in those days, they had some advantages that Indians could read literature in different countries of the world, such as Russian, American, Britain, etc. They became masters of English language. Do you think is it easy to learn a language? No, it's not that easy. We already said in the beginning of this paragraph, The learning of a language is a whole system of knowledge constructing activity. You need to put a lot of strain to learn a language. Your brain have to work a lot to learn a language. So it may be whatever may be the language, not English alone I am speaking about. Any language, it has its own difficulty to learn a language. And the interesting fact in this paragraph is that the Britishers failed to learn a language or to adapt our language and culture, and we won over them. We could learn their language, we could adapt their culture. Okay, so we did it. So we have to be proud to be an Indian. I'll tell you what's the importance of learning the language. It's of course, learning a language means to get connected with someone or somebody or with some countries. Like it requires a communication. A good communication requires a language. Okay. So for example, I'll tell you, a person who do not know Malayalam come to Kerala. What happens is that she or he feels out of place. But that person takes trouble and learn the language and adjust with the culture. He or she may be accepted by the Keralites. And he or she may feel very comfortable with us. So, likewise, these Europeans, they also knew this fact that only when they adapt our language, our culture, like Indians' language and culture, only then they will be accepted here in the beginning. Only then they can be masters of us. So for that, what they did is that already we have explained, right? Yeah. And what benefit we Indians have achieved through learning the language English or by adapting their culture and their language? Yes, we have achieved a lot. We could read English, we could learn English not just for the communication, but we have taken mastery over English, that the Indians, I'm talking about the pioneers, right? They began reading the literature later, yes, of sure, all the European countries like Russian, American, Britain, etc. And not only reading the literature, they even started writing the literature. It's great. After 1800, English was represented as a position of power. Indians learned English, but we have to consider it as a colonial language. Orientalists are the people of eastern side. They promoted the Western language and literature. According to Macaulay, a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia. After 1800, English established their kingdom in India. After establishing, they executed their plan in India. That means they taught the Indians their language and culture. Not every single Indians, but they chose some people from India and educated them. Those people are Orientalists. Listen, the Orientalists was Indians. They were educated or so-called civilized by the Europeans. Thus they had commitment towards Europeans, that they promoted European language and literature. I hope you understood what I said regarding the Orientalists. Now, have a look at Macaulay. Macaulay was a prominent person from Europe. He was a prejudiced person. He stated a quote which is given, which means he compared European library to Indians. As this, you can see that the European library is very vast. Their literature is unpredictable. That the whole Indian and Arabian literature can be compared to a single shelf of their library. Through this, he was just putting us Indians down to the earth. The political agenda of foreigners, namely Macaulay, was to introduce the foreign language to Indians so that they can superior over us because they knew that the Indians were culturally rich and had major languages in India. It was difficult for the foreigners to dominate the Indians. It is an interesting fact. I hope you understood the political agenda of the foreigners. They found it difficult to come over India and to establish their kingdom due to our rich culture and language. Edward Said comments in Macaulay's book that Macaulay, speaking from a position of power, where he could translate his opinions into the decision to make an entire subcontinent of native submit to studying in a language not their own, which means that it was only an opinion of Macaulay that to teach the foreign language to Indians in order to dominate the Indians. That opinion was taken as a decision by the foreign heads. Edward said he comments in Macaulay's book that it was only an opinion of Macaulay that was taken into the decision. It was actually Macaulay was the first person who had the idea of creating the Orientalist so that they could easily establish their kingdom. So his idea was taken into consideration by the Europeans. Dear friends, as I wind up here, I request you that in case if you have benefited from me, kindly subscribe my channel and support me. Like, share, and your comments are valuable to me. So thank you.